Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Out of the Woods, Growing Income from Your Forest. Thanks for joining us. My name is Lindsay Kazarick. I will be your host for this evening's program, and I am joined by Casey Withers, who is helping us out on tech. I have the honor this evening of introducing you to my fellow classmate here at Future Generations University, but he is also the executive director of oh, help me out here, Corey, the
The
executive
Family
director
Resource Network of the
network of the
Panhandle.
Panhandle. Yeah, sorry about that. That is one
No,
heck of a
it's a
title.
lot.
And he is also the founder of Healing Harvest, which was a project that you will learn a little bit more about here in a bit. Also joining us later in the program is Audra Odell of the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Corey. But during Corey's presentation, if you have questions or comments that you would like to add to the presentation, please feel free to put those in the chat or the Q&A.
Thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about a lot of tough stuff. And through this process, I want everyone to know that the most important thing to do is to take care of yourself. So as we talk about this stuff, it can evoke emotional responses. Feel free to take a break after the presentation. If you want to sit back, talk to some people, we can refer you to some resources and help out. Along with that, we're going to go through a lot of information today, and we want to be very mindful of what is asked and considerate of the information. So what we want to do is, maybe you've heard it as a parking lot. I call it a garden. We want to take those ideas, plant a seed in the garden, and come back to it. So some of the things that maybe would be more than a short answer, something that maybe we have to go back and do a little research on to make sure we're giving you the best information possible. We'll always plant those into the garden. Along with that, I'd like to know how everyone's doing today. So if you can put in the chat, let's describe a West Virginia item or a West Virginia plant, anything West Virginia that describes how you're feeling today. So Lindsay, if you kind of want to keep track of those as we go, I'd appreciate it. Let me see if I can pull the chat up. So maple syrup, absolutely. Uh, Sweet, amazing, one of the best things that we have to offer. I think today I'm feeling like a pepperoni roll, authentically West Virginia, here to show up and do my job and to be part of the community. So through this process, everything's a process and journey. So today I hope to highlight where I've come from, why it's instilled the values that I have, how it's created the energy to just emerge into this mission that has become one of my greatest passions. Sorry, y'all, it is not working. Like Lindsay said, my name is Corey Beam. I'm the founder and CEO of Healing Harvest, a social enterprise based here in West Virginia. I'm also the executive director of a nonprofit called the Family Resource Network of the Panhandle. Through that position, I oversee our health and human service collaboration. It's a collaboration of over 70 organizations that have come together for common purpose, to work together to create strategic plans so we can take action. Along with that, one of the things that's near and dear to my heart, I'm a current master's student at Future Generations University in the Applied Community Development Program. I was born in Charlestown, West Virginia, and I spent most of my life in Martinsburg. Growing up, my life wasn't stable. My mom and dad moved around a lot. And years later, I found that with my sister's dad, both my parents had been involved in some of the wildest, most dangerous things that you can imagine. I didn't know much about my father except he was dangerous, and I knew I didn't want to be him. One memory still plays in my mind like it happened yesterday. My mom was at work and my dad was watching me, but like so many other days, he wasn't there. I stumbled to the fridge in the morning, and right there was a baby alligator he had caught and put in an aquarium. The baby alligator was coming to get me. This proved to be a theme. This proved to be the theme with my father. He was never there, but there was always something dangerous that was coming to get me. My mom wasn't perfect. She had her own trauma. Mom had her own edge. She was definitely a unique individual. The stories that I've heard over the years, some of the things that I've heard passing in family reunions, um, quantified a really tough childhood. And some of the stories that I can personally tell you don't always paint her in the best picture. The one thing that she gave me, though, was unconditional love. She knew that she had to show me something different than what my father had given me through life. When we came back to West Virginia from West, when we came back to West Virginia from Georgia, my earliest memory was living in a shelter for women and children when I was 8. My favorite movie was Dirty Dancing, not because I picked it, but because it was the only VHS tape that the shelter had. I watched it over and over. It gave me a window into the world where tough guys protected the people they cared about, and it planted a seed that I've carried with me all my life. When I was 24, I lost my mom. In her absence, my mom's 5 sisters, they've become a foundation. Even though we don't see each other as much as we should, they've always been there for me, offering help without hesitation. In their voices and faces, I still see and hear my mom. Helping them and others, it, it helping them and helping others, it really makes me want to see the light in our community, and it really helps me understand that community and positive community and that just and lasting change that we talk about, it matters more to me than anything. My mom's loss, it left me with a choice. I could keep going down the self-serving road, or I can put my energies into something a lot more positive, something potentially life-changing. I'm very thankful that I chose the latter. So shortly after losing mom, I went back to school. I didn't really know my why, but I was determined to find it. I dove into research, political science, and every humanities course I could get into. I was hungry to learn things that I've never experienced before. Philosophy, communication, and research methodology, they became my favorites. Once again, planting the seed. So I've never been a traditional student in my college career. I went to undergrad at 24 after losing mom, and I started grad school at 43. Most of my life, I've always learned by doing, observing, and listening. That made my academic journey extremely personal and connected to real world change. Learning's mostly been applied in my life, and it's connected me to some of the most wonderful people that are changing the world for the better. So in this great journey, you never know who might have a great impact on your life. Few of us are fortunate enough to call our heroes friends. Many years ago, I became the Project for Success coordinator for Berkeley County, Jefferson, and Morgan County with the Potomac Highlands Guild. That's where I had the privilege of meeting Raj. From the start, we built a professional relationship based on trust and shared purpose, improving the health, safety, and resilience of our community through prevention work. When I moved to the Boys and Girls Club as the opioid prevention manager for the 3 counties, I kept working with Raj. I connected him to community partners. I helped build programs with him. I led anti stigma trainings, harm reduction, and trainings about community protective factors. Work that I reported to Raj as he was the coordinator for the West Virginia Office of Drug Control Policy for our region. Over the years, Raj has continued to be a steady partner in changing the many things that we don't like about our communities. As the executive director of the Family Resource Network of the Panhandle, Raj continues to lend his expertise, his resources, and his heart to our communities. One of the current projects I've been working on with Raj, he is a board member for the West Virginia Clinical and Translational Science Institute. For Berkeley, Morgan, and Jefferson counties, I am a community health research ambassador. So together, we've really been working to get people at this event. So this is an example of some of the information that the connection between Raj and I how it's impacting our community. We're able to gather individuals that were concerned with health information, health data, and some of the barriers that we're having to some of the research that's happening in the community. So August 13th, we were able to have a community forum where the West Virginia Clinical and Translational Science Institute came and they were able to observe these things and get firsthand accounts of what most affects our community. So when we talk about these three-way partnerships and we talk about buy-in, a lot of these things come from those connections, right? So the better the partnerships, the better the connections, the better information we have to get more buy-in. So over time, Raj and Ma's conversations, they've shifted from the programs that we build to the bigger possibilities of the things that we can use these programs to do. Um, Raj was talking about seed scale before I even had the language, right? So he introduced me to Future Generations University, and once again, planted a seed that continues to grow every day. Future Generations has been more than just a school for me. It's been a bridge between my life, my professional work, and my vision for change. Here I'm learning applied tools that I put to work immediately: seed scale, advanced work plan development, nonprofit management, and fundraising. These aren't just theories, they're strategies that are already creating real change in my community. So, every great idea starts from a seed, right? Or every great idea is a seed that we plant. And the conversations we have, the interactions, the spaces that we share, the people and experiences that we have deeply impact those. So before Healing Harvest was even thought out, before we were even thinking about what we can do with maple syrup, before we even like started going into our whys, we had experiences. And this I can't say that word, experiential learning is something that all my life has been, to use Kimberly's word from earlier today in one of her classes, it's been a gift. So I was very fortunate to we had a community. It was the Health and Human Services collaboration, and during this collaboration, I'll get this out y'all's way the best I can. So during this collaboration, we came together to talk about um, health information in our community, food deserts, food security, and access to nutritious food. So we had tons of organizations come together. We had this discussion. Mark Pfeiffer, he is the executive director for a nonprofit called Community Markets Incorporated. He talked to us about how you can create an LLC, have a product, and bring it to his market. And he would put things on his website for you. He would help market. Essentially, he had a structure already set up that you just had to bring a product to market and figure out how to set up your LLC. So Mark planted the seed that day without any of us really knowing the full scope of what that was. Along with that, we got to speak with Tina Badley. She is an individual that works for another nonprofit called Morgan County Starting Points. Tina Badley goes into the schools, she goes through the community, they work with senior services, they work with the family support centers, and she has a program that she developed with Dr. Bill Lands that talks about omega 3s and the benefits that they have in the community. So one of the pictures that you see here, first you see Tina. She goes around, and one of the ways that she gets buy-in, she gets people excited, she starts aspirations. She comes to the party as a mermaid, and she has fun, and her energy is absolutely amazing. So, not a huge fish person, but as you can see, Miss Tina, the mermaid, she has me eating a sardine and understanding the health benefits. We got to go do, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit, a community meal in Morgan County with some families, and we got to talk about some really cool stuff, mostly the things that connected us. And during that meal, right before that meal, there were about 6 or 7 eighth graders, middle schoolers running around eating tuna fish out of packets. And curious mind wanted to know. And they said, "Well, Miss Tina, we love tuna fish. It's absolutely amazing." So the power of immersing yourself within that community, going around, telling people your message, having fun with it, It's changing the way that the communities are thinking, the way that they're eating, and how they respond to new information. So during this whole discussion, a seed was planted. My nonprofit, the Family Resource Network, puts on these quarterly meetings. They connect over 70, once again, 70 local organizations, tons and tons of influence through like 4 or 5 different strategic planning groups across behavioral health, strong and stable families, kids in transition. So we're trying to look at the community in many different ways, and health is one of the big things that we look at in community development. How can we boost economic opportunities? Why that is doing that. So this brings us to what Healing Harvest started as, and kind of how the idea came about. So, one of the pleasant outcomes of my education, one of the things that's emerged through the process has been Healing Harvest. This has been a passionate project that takes up a considerable amount of my thought process and energies. I'm so excited about it, and I have so much fun and super passionate about being able to share some of the best stuff about our state. So we talked about this in Dr. Harney's social enterprise class last semester. So in that class, Lindsay and I came up with an idea. We wanted to we wanted to figure out how to sell maple syrup in a way that honored its heritage and created opportunities for our organizations, other organizations, and West Virginians within themselves. So, with the support of Dr. Harney, the university, local farmers, too many partners to name. It's so many individuals. Um, this simple class project, it became something bigger. And we realized, Lindsay and I realized early on with the help of others that, and this I think Lindsay already knew, but Lindsay let me in on the secret that maple syrup was a lot more than just a product. It was actually a conduit for the things that we wanted to change and make better. So this brought up a series of questions, right? Like any good idea, like any seed that we plant, there's questions, right? There's so many more questions than answers when we start, and you don't even know all the questions. But the ones that we thought about first was um, with something deeply rooted in West Virginia, how could this be a driver for economic opportunity? What if it could help create protective factors that made our community stronger? What if the best products in the world from some of the best people in the world had the power to change our communities for the better, for the things we wanted to see? Lindsay challenged me and I started thinking about it, and she offered a few examples. But what other products do West Virginia offer? What other products start to paint the picture that we want to share? So, along with that, we also got into who we serve through this process, right? Like, who benefits from it? Why are we doing it? Who are we selling to? Who are we buying from? Who are we working with? So the maple syrup producers, right? Individuals that have access to those high yield products. We started talking to the J.Q. Dickinsons of the world. You know, there's a 400 million year old ancient sea that's older than the Atlantic Ocean underneath the mountains of Charleston that we get salts that have tons of good minerals and no microplastics. Only 10% of the sea salts in the world can say that they have no microplastics. We want to connect people to the products and the reasons. I can tell you that when we sample the maple syrups from West Virginia, the authentic Appalachian maple syrups and the J.Q. Dickinson salts, people have experiences. They want these things more than anything. So what we see is we see companies like Bear Wood Company that makes art out of wood that they reclaim. They're not going down and chopping down and buying new stuff. They're making beautiful things out of stuff that's already there. I started thinking about sustainable resource development. Healing Harvest is working with tons of other small businesses in the community. We're working with our local farmers market to try to grow. You know, it's the second year that Catherine has taken over our local farmers market. We're pulling really good weekends. We're getting a lot more people on a regular basis. We're connecting people with educational resources. Some of the things that Tina was teaching us about omega threes. We've created index cards that we can sit there and make it easy for people to go get a healthy meal within the farmers market. We're working with community markets like Community Markets Inc. It's an organization that does a couple local pop-up markets in the most like in the food deserts, right? The places where they don't necessarily have access to all the fresh stuff. Mark does different markets where he's actually giving produce and different foods away. We were able to work with all those producers and put together a community meal with our drug free coalition where we did blackberry salads, and all the ingredients for the salads were sourced within 20 minutes of where people actually consumed them. So we want to work with those nonprofits, right? We want to go out and do the trainings and teach people about protective factors and what supportive environments are. If we're working with kids, we want to talk about what that non-consequential and those warm, demanding adults are. We want to go out there and we want to help people reach that next level, but we want to walk with people in a manner that meets them where they are and considers their wants and needs throughout the journey. So we want to teach as many individuals that as possible. Healing Harvest is very fortunate that at the end of the month, through the West Virginia Adolescent Health Coordinators, we get to go do a training where we talk about building an army of kindness and compassion and how these connections really are a community protective factor, and how we have tons of opportunities to work with one another. Once we know that we have, the shared community goals, it really turns into the ability to turn that into action. So we also want to teach individuals, West Virginians and others, the model that we're working on, right? We want to be able to replicate the plans. The whole process of going and working with the Secretary of State, doing taxes, learning the things that you don't know. There's been so many opportunities to go and delve into something a little bit deeper because it's going to be beneficial to the social enterprise. It's something or a connection or a resource. You also learn very early on that you're good at what you're good at, and that there's nothing wrong with outsourcing the things that you're not as good at. That time is very valuable. We also, like I said, we want to talk to people that want to learn more about protective factors as well. So what are we doing through this whole process? And so you can see my buddy Matt down there, and through the process, he was the first individual to buy our bourbon infused peppercorns. So one of the things that I do as a nonprofit director is identify gaps in services. So as I'm sitting there and I'm working with individuals and I'm selling maple syrup and salt and some of these other things, quite often you hear someone has high blood pressure, there's issues. So I wanted to make sure that I have products for everyone. One of the things that I tell people is the very first time I meet you, you're a customer. After that, you're a collaborator. So the things that you want, the things that you're talking about, the things that I can reasonably bring to market, um, we can do just about anything based off flexibility and be creative. That's one of our biggest strengths. We also want to talk about, and I'll talk about this a little bit through these next things, but um, we want to show people the best things West Virginia has to offer, right? We want to offer these tours of industry. One of the really cool things about what we're doing with Healing Harvest is you can come at our table at any of these markets that were set up or some of these locations that we go to, and you're going to hear why the stories of why West Virginia matters so much, right? I'm going to be able to give you a sample of why I love West Virginia so much. We even work with people like the Son of Sasquatch, which is the 2024 West Virginian Best Living Magazine Landscape Photographer of the Year. Hopefully, it's the 2025 coming up, to show people. When I talk about maple syrup coming from Franklin, West Virginia, I can show Seneca Rocks and be like, no wonder it's amazing. Look where it comes from. So we want to use the syrups, the salts as a conduit for these conversations, right? We want to have those deeper connections with people. I want people to connect with us on social media. I want them to come back. I want them to follow the stories. When we talk about the best maple syrup in the world, I get to talk about how Future Generations University teaches people how to do agroforestry, and how I can connect you with people like Lindsay. I can connect you with the Appalachian program. I can connect you with Casey if you want to learn more about your youth development programs. Um, it's about that intentional information that we have on top of the intent that we're doing, right? So it gives us the ability to create these amazing ideas, but we can also come in and bring some of the expertise to individuals within the community. I had the opportunity to meet Kimberly Pettigrew today, and there's so much expertise that she can bring to our community around the food services that we're talking about. We also, like I said, because of conversations that we had with Tina, and I was very fortunate. Dr. Bill Lanz is 95 years old. 2 Saturdays ago, with the omega-3 fish expert, I got to sit down and eat the special at the Country Inn in Morgan County. We got the grouper. I felt obligated with the omega-3 biochemist person that promotes it more than anything. We had to eat grouper. It was a fish day. But through that process, he had asked me to do a little bit more research on the mental health components of it, right? So there's studies out there that show that omega-3s help with aggression, depression, brain health. So if these are things that we can implement and help people in a manner that's delicious, I think it's a really big part of it. So along with this, we're also doing community trainings, like I said, and we're helping people understand how the food they're eating can support their emotional wellness. The trainings aren't just about recipes, they're about reclaiming our tradition, right? It's also about the nourishing foods that we have access to. And it's also connecting people to the idea that this food can be a form of medicine and prevention while being delicious. So, part of what makes Healing Harvest unique is storytelling, right? We get to tell the West Virginia stories about the people and the products. Instead of focusing on the bad, we're focusing on the best of West Virginia. We're talking about the things and the products that happen to be maybe some of the best in the world. I can't tell you how many times I've heard West Virginia makes maple syrup. And the very first thing that I say is I show my Healing Harvest shirt, and I was like, the maple trees are state tree. And, we start there. Um, but along with that, after that first taste, they never forget. I had a lady come to my table the other day, and it was probably one of the coolest moments, right? So starting a social enterprise, doing anything is hard work, right? A lot of long hours, a lot of unpaid time that we're going to. So you need motivations, right? You need those things that inspire you that get you to that next level. So I was talking to this lady, and she came up to the table, and she said, my granddaddy is from Vermont, and he taps maple trees, and he does it with the buckets. And, you know, I looked at her, I said, ma'am, I need your expert opinion, right? Because I've had one type of maple syrup, and I can tell you it's amazing. It's West Virginia maple syrup. I can tell you where it comes from. It's delicious. So I gave her a sample of it. She had a mindful moment, right? She paused. I could see her flipping back to her granddad. I could see her like just going back to a place in time that brought her happiness. And I knew like why we're doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? So that first taste, I know she'll never forget. By linking this economic opportunity with these protective factors, we're showing that businesses can be more than profit, right? It can be a pathway to healing, to pride, and to our thriving communities. Our products, the knowledge and intent can impactfully change our communities. So, what are we doing? How are we exploring? What what are the benefits of working with some producers, right? So these partnerships that we're developing, being able to get products on consignment, being able to get 30-day net deals on things, it helps us when we're prepping for these bigger festivals that we're going to, some of these bigger farmers markets. Right now with the 30 net deals and being able to get stuff on consignment, I'm preparing for the holiday season where we're going to have these bigger markets. You know what I mean? So those partnerships can benefit. I know based on our geographic location, because we're in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. Um, I'm 20 minutes from Northern Virginia. I'm 20 minutes from Maryland. I'm literally 3 hours from every major metropolitan city on the East Coast. Like, you know what I mean? I can get to New York City within 5 hours from where I'm at. It takes me longer to get to Charleston, West Virginia. It's also, you know, by working with multiple partners throughout the state, it can help reduce the cost of shipping and get products to me channeled in a way that's more efficient that we can all make more income off of it. It's also creating new products, right? So as I'm talking to people, as I have these things in my hand, it's like, oh my goodness, what else can I make with it, right? That creativity aspect that comes from it. So pictured here is one of my buddies. It's the very first bag. I had a lot of JQ Dickinson salt and I had a lot of authentic maple syrup. What was I going to do with it? Well, obviously, I'm going to do candied maple pecans with it, right? So these partnerships have also led into like JQ Dickinson selling my candy maple pecans. You know what I mean? It's that cross promotion that's really doing things. So this process is creating these unique experiences for the visitors as they're coming in. We're able to create things like the bourbon infused peppercorns. One of the products that I think I'm going to make this weekend, I think I'm going to do a maple toffee with pecans in it because I don't know, it sounds interesting. We'll see how it turns out. So it even gets my creative juices flowing. I'm able to experiment and find like all the neat things that we can do. It's expanding our sales outlets, right? So as we're going out and we're talking about our mission, we're talking about your mission, the stories. It's getting people charged up. They want to, it's getting people excited. They're like, hey, that's a really cool idea. That's a cool product. We want to support your mission. Hey, you're a social enterprise. What does that even mean? Um, so it's expanding those sales outlets and it's giving us new opportunities, and it's also creating new opportunities for the producers. As I'm in my area and I talk to different businesses, I talk to different, establishments, like different nonprofits. Um, you never know what emerges from those conversations, right? We go back to earlier in the presentation. The other thing is it's direct to consumer sales. So one of the things I'm most passionate about, it's fun to sell something online. Like it's cool to see it in your shopping cart. Like it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like I'll never discredit that process. But when I get to give somebody a sample, shake their hand, build a connection and a relationship with them that it's deeper than that bag of pecans that I'm selling them. You know what I mean? One of my coolest stories with the pecans so far is we had a little guy that was super picky about what he ate, right? His whole family, I got all of them to eat a sample of the pecans and they really liked them. And he's probably like four, he's just tiny, as cute as he can be. And dad like kind of force fed him a pecan. You know what I mean? Like, no, buddy, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Like it was so adorable. By the end of it, the little guy came up on his own about 4 or 5 times, and his parents were telling him the whole time, "You can't have any more samples." I'm a youth development person. Nobody, you can have every sample. I'll open this bag for you. Like, please, fist bump. Like, made a new best friend. And it was through a West Virginia product that I was able to share that story. Share my story with people and why it matters. All right. So what's happened with this? I told you that we're building these stronger networks, right? So I have a deep relationship with the Martinsburg Farmers Market. Catherine and I are strategizing ways to work with Mark next year. We're strategizing on, new promotions we can do. I'm into music a lot. Catherine's asking me to link her up with some of our music people. We're really trying to grow something that's been there for 2 years. It's in the old. I was talking about industries before. It's in the old Roundhouse train station, so there's a lot of history there. It's not the easiest place to find. So, there's things that we have to work on logistically to try to figure it out because iteration's a really big part of it. We see a lot of things that are working well, but we can also identify like what's not and just really push into the things that we want to see more of. Working with Community Markets Inc. Since I started with Mark and we've had conversations, he's been able to move his markets into Paw Paw, West Virginia, which is like one of the most rural places we have in our community. He's creating economic opportunities. He's creating jobs. He's creating Vista positions within that area. Like it's amazing. Retail locations. So we haven't had a whole lot of success with it, but our name is getting out there. When we're at the farmers markets, I have a high-end bakery that we're selling products at. I also have like a bin store that's selling products. I'm working on a place in Harper's Ferry that's like a really big tourist spot that we could get some products in. but it's building those relationships and those connections, right? So even if I'm not selling a million products out there because I'm not there physically selling and giving the stories and all the good stuff, we're getting brand recognition and partner recognition through it. So that advertising is invaluable. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting at the farmer's market and I hear somebody say, "Hey, Monster Deal said that you're going to be here today and that we need to come connect with you." And here's some, it's about those relationships. We're also connecting with larger events. So a lot of the things that we're selling, we have some of the best tape. This picture right here is from the Flavor Festival in Boonesboro, Maryland. So getting to those other markets that we're expanding to, we're able to go 20 minutes away, get into a totally different market, and participate at the Flavor Fest. The best compliment that I got at the Flavor Fest was, "Hey, I've been here all day, and you're the only one that brought the flavor." It was, trust me, when you know you make right decisions, like, yeah, you're right, I was supposed to be here today. So the power is in the communications, right? I can sit here all day and talk about the stories and tell people the things that I care about most, and really sell the best things in West Virginia. This is one of the very first reviews that we got from that Flavor Fest. And the things that really stand out to me are the messages. They understood that we're about community connection and resilient, that we're going beyond offering products. We want to offer those meaningful connections and support to deep in a deeply rooted, sustainable way. So I'd like to leave today before we open it up for questions with an idea that I have. So imagine if every maple syrup and Appalachian product producer partnered with a community organization. Imagine if every product told a story, funded a local project, and built pride in their home. We have so many special things here in West Virginia. We just need to pick them up from the dirt and share them with the world. Thank you all so much for your time, sharing space and consideration today, and learning a little bit more about Healing Harvest.
Well, I was really just trying to find somewhere to play. You join this team, you can play here.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. Before we open things up for questions, we have Audra here from the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition. So we're going to turn things over to Audra to talk to us a little bit about the Appalachian Cellar and how our tree syrup producers and other value-added producers can take part in that programming.
This is me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, I was a little late, but and yet a little early from 7:45. Hauled butt here as quick as I could. So yeah, I figure, Lindsay, I don't know if you can share the website or not. I can drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, I can share.
There.
I'll share.
Cool. Figured we can take a look there. The other presenter was mentioning, online is what we're working on. So we have developed a cooperative. We are 30 members strong at this point. Still getting folks reaching out to become members. So every member is an owner of the business. We're working together to share resources, share equipment, do educational strategies together, do shared marketing, aggregation, distribution, and sales. Right now, our biggest customer, I guess, would be the state parks. So we are in all the state parks across the state, which is fantastic. We aggregate all our product together. So when they order online, and then we aggregate, and then we do a single delivery to the state parks, which they like as well, because then the administration part becomes way easier for them too. Corey also mentioned the great collaborations that can happen through these things. So we're now starting to see some of our members actually collaborate to make new products, which is really cool. So Ronk Family Maples Farm and Aroma of the Andes just paired up and did an infused maple, coffee infused maple, and I am dying to try it. Apparently, when Dwayne gets back from Colombia, I get a bottle. So I'm excited to see what that tastes like. I'm sure it's fantastic. Two great products, you can't go wrong, right? I know, right? Yum. I loved seeing what Corey, what you guys are up to. We should talk offline at some point. Um, Mark is fantastic. I love that you're
1,000%. I'd love to talk to you offline. I had the same
it,
thought. So Lindsay and I have these like co-occurring thoughts a lot of the times as well. So 1,000%, man.
yeah, let's make sure we get connected. Mark is good people. I'm so glad you're connected with him. That's fantastic. There's a couple people up your way that I would like to connect you to it with too. Um, but yeah, like I mentioned, we're a member in cooperative. So if anybody would like to get a hold of us, become a member, or dig more into what we're into, we'd love to talk to you. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind sharing the website, we could take a peek at that. So we're all about the storytelling as well. And we've developed out this website that tells the story of each producer and the co-op itself. And then you can buy online. So far, the website's only developed for wholesale purchasing, but our next phase will be retail. Awesome, thank you. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the illustrious Chef Matt Welch. He is our brand ambassador. He advocates all things West Virginia, which we are happy and proud to have him on board with Appalachian Cellar. And we just absolutely adore him. Uh, if you click on products, you will see there's over 300 and some products that we have on the website. And boy, do they run the gamut. We have honey and spice blends and housewares and all handcrafted in West Virginia from small producers. I mentioned we have 30 members. That's a smattering of farmers, value-added producers, and a mix of the two. Some do both. So we often buy from each other a lot too, which I think is awesome. So we're constantly supporting each other as well beyond just promoting one another. If you want to go to the producer page and look at a little bit of the storytelling aspect. So each one of these little rectangles here represents a value-added producer that's part of the co-op. And if you click on, I don't know, go to Ronk. If you scroll down through there, we're telling Ronk's story and showcasing his product. And his products are also linked within his page too. We also just paired up with Chef Matt Welsh to do recipes and roadmaps. He's doing a second season. And we picked 8 producers from the co-op for him to feature on recipes and roadmaps. And Paul was actually one. Those videos are starting to be released. And I tell you, watching Paul's, it brings a tear to my eye. Like, I love that man. He gives the best hugs and has the best laugh. But seeing him on his farm and that whole story that Matt goes through with him is it's tear-jerking. It's just lovely. Um, and all these folks have become like family to me. We're creating a community, which I absolutely love, and we support each other all the time and collaborate, obviously. Um, I don't know. I love this model. There's no middleman. Um, we're all the owners of it. We represent it. Every purchase made goes directly back to that producer, which I just think is fantastic. It's how a cooperative operates. It's net zero. So it's basically a pass-through entity. So it doesn't hold any profit. So at the end of the year, if there's anything remaining after all debts are paid, that goes back to all the members, which I think is fantastic. Yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell. We're continually expanding, getting into new things. We're supplying all the toiletries to the state parks now too, so you'll see our brand all in the state parks. We're getting into the gift shops. We've paired with them to do cellar to table dinners along with Chef Matt. We paired up with them this summer to do their farm to tables, getting into their gift shops. Some of their restaurants are actually utilizing our products as well. They launched the Trailblazer Breakfast. I believe 3 of the state parks are doing that initiative, which is basically a fun spin on a continental breakfast, but they're actually featuring local products within that continental breakfast. So you can find Arbaugh Farms grits on the Trailblazer Breakfast. Heinerman Hill Farm, they use her pancake mix for the pancakes, her bagels, sugar bottoms syrup, Ronks, or sorry, sugar bottoms honey, Ronks syrup. So yeah, really big boons for these guys. We're keeping them hopping. And the next thing on the docket is we are building out 2 co-pack facilities. So we're supporting one member to be a thermal processing co-pack facility. And then we're also starting a dry goods co-pack facility. So this will help all our cottage food folks scale and have manufactured products that can then sell across state lines. Right now, we kind of had things divided to what can sell across state lines and what can only be sold in West Virginia. And soon we will blur those lines and everything will be able to be sold across state lines, which is super exciting. Well, I think that's all I got, Lindsay, unless you, anything glaring that I'm missing.
Hey, Audrey, I
Thanks
got a
for,
quick question for you.
sure thing.
Would you be able to like with certified meat producers, would you be able to sell like frozen meat and stuff for them?
Not yet.
Okay.
That is one of the things that we're scaling towards is being able to transport frozen.
Okay. Awesome.
So the same grant that we got for building out the co-pack facilities will allow us to scale to haul and deliver frozen goods too.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so soon, just not at this moment. And Corey, if you would drop your email in the chat, I'll be sure to write it down. We'll connect.
Thanks, Audra. If folks have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat or the Q&A for either Audra or Corey. We can go ahead and turn things over to the Q&A portion of the program at this time. Seeing any questions coming in just yet. While we're waiting, oh, yep. And I was just gonna say, if you want to go ahead and launch the exit poll, that would be great. Thank you very much. Well, Audra and Corey, you must have done a fantastic job and answered everyone's questions. I don't see anything coming in, so thank you both so much for being with us this evening. Yes, we're getting, yes, great food for thought. Thank you. We hope that you will be able to join us for another rendition of Out of the Woods at a later time. Corey, I know that we will see you in class, but the rest of the audience, our next episode of Out of the Woods will be on Thursday, September 18th at 7 p.m. And we hope to see everyone back at that time. So I don't see any other questions coming in. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope you have a great evening and we will see you back here next month. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a great evening.